Good day, grade 9. Today is our MAPEH 9 in week 6. My name is Rinaldo B. Malimban. Our lesson 4 is all about romantic period in 1820 to 1900. The romantic period, the arise urban middle class lead to formation of any orchestra and the opera groups in the development of regular subscription concerts. What is romantic music? It refers to Western music composed in the late 18th century to 19th century. Composers and artists believe in letting their imagination and passion be seen through their works. Music of Roman period in 1820 to 1900 continued to use the musical forms of preceding classical era. The emotional intensity associated with Romanticism was already present in the work of Mozart and particularly in that of Beethoven, who are greatly influenced in composers after him. The Romantic period. First is allowed artist freedom, experimentations, and creativity. Second, nationalism became popular. Increased use of dissonance and chromatism. Color of instruments widely used. Opera became increasingly popular and virtuoso performers. The Romantic era in 1820 to 1900s, the term romantic refers to the music being expressive and emotional rather than referring specifically to love. Patronage declined and successful composers became famous, the equivalent of pop stars in their day. Most of the musical developments were creative rather than technical. So the characteristic of romantic music is there are seven, but the important is that the 19th century of romantic period is dominated by the four principal media, wherein the piano, orchestra, solo song with piano, and the opera. And the instrumental music used piano came into the general use during the romantic period. These are the great musicians of the romantic period. Number 1, Franz Schubert, Australian in 1797 to 1828. 9 symphonies, 600 songs, chamber music, solo piano music. A musical example like Unfinished Symphony or the song of Reaching in the Spinning Wheel. Schubert was a composer, is one of the originators of romantic style, and he was a pro-life composer and was considered as the greatest among the post-classicists. In the age of 7 became the boy of soprano. Next is Felix Mendelssohn, a German 1809 to 1847, 5 symphonies, concertos, overtures, chamber music, choral music. A music example like Overture to A Midsummer Night Dream. When he was 9 years old, he had already written composition. He composed in Overture and became a music director of Dusseldorf, Germany. When here Robert Schumann taught in composition. His important works include the Scottish Italian Reformations. Next is Robert Schumann. He was a German composer and writer considered as one of the greatest leaders of Romantic movement. He composed many piano pieces, opera, symphonies for the piano, violin, and cello, and also the concerto in chamber music. In German, in 1810 to 1856, he declined the 4 symphonies and 1 piano concerto, many songs, leather, and piano music. In the music example song of Ich Krieges Nicht. Next is Richard Wagner, a German in 1813 to 1883. He was born in Leipzig and was considered as the most influential and controversial composer in the history of classical music. Among his famous works were Oselde, Die Menschensinger, and The Ring of Nibelungen. Next is Johann Brahms. Johann Brahms was acknowledged as one of the greatest composers of the Romantic period for greatly enriching of literature of piano and music history. Most of his work were written in the free Romantic style. His works include ballads, scherzos, capriccios, intermezzi, symphony, etudes, waltz, and Hungarian dance. Next is Frederick Chopin, abolished in 1810 to 1849. A piano music by Chopin along with the list was of the two most important composers of the piano music in the Romantic period. His work, the solo piano, are among the cornerstones of the piano repertory. Next is Franz Liszt, an Hungarian in 1811 to 1886. A piano music tune opens two piano concertos. Liszt is one of the most important composers of piano music in the Romantic period. In a musical example of Lebenstraum, or the Dream of Love. Next is Giacomo Puccini in Italian in 1858 to 1924. Operas of Puccini is one of the two most important composers of Italian opera in the Romantic period, or any period in the musical history, included La Boheme, Tosca, Turandot, Madame Butterfly, and Manon Lescaut. Next is Giuseppe Verdi in Italian in 1813 to 1901, operas. Verdi was one of the two most important composers of Italian operas of any period of musical history. Some of his most important operas are Aida, La Traviata, Rigoletto, Tu Trovatore. Next is Peter S. Tchaikovsky, a Russian in 1840 to 1893. 6 symphonies of ballets, concertos, orchestral works, and operas. His musical example like Symphony No. 4, Heinle. He was known as a father of the composer of 19th century, and he finished law and became a clerk in the Ministry of Justice in St. Peter of Petersburg in 1861. He began study to music and then later became a teacher of Moscow. And the last is Carl Maria von Weber in 1786 to 1826. In history, 1786, born in the small German town near Hamburg. In 1803, travels to Vienna to study with the Michael Haydn. In 1804, holds first conducting position in opera theater in the Breslau. In 1817, conductor of German Opera Theater in Dresden. In 1821, completes Des Précieuses, his most successful opera, and 1826 dies in London, where he had traveled to see a premiere of opera of Oberon. The musical instruments of the Romantic period. As the music has developed, a new kind of musical instrument was invented to suit the type of style or a form of music. Among the musical instruments that were introduced in the Romantic era included piccolo, clarinet, xylophone, English horn, bassoon, tuba, bugle, organ, and saxophone. And these are the orchestra. The word orchestra was derived from the Greek term meaning a space of chorus. This is located in front of the stage. In the late of 16th century, the position of notating scores and calling for specific instruments to play certain music started the orchestra. So the first orchestra was organized at the royal court of France and in Italian churches and palaces during the 1500s to 1600s. The orchestra works called symphonic first appeared as overture or small instrumental interludes in opera. Popular types of orchestral music in the 1800s include symphonic overture, symphonic poems, and concert. The musicians are divided into four main groups: 1 string section, 2 wooden section, 3 brass section, 4 percussion section. And this is the form, the arrangement of musical instruments in an orchestra. The first feature is made by hidden instruments. The second feature made by Wagner instruments. The third feature made of Beethoven's instruments. And the last feature made of Stravinsky instruments. Again, please continue to monitor our e-class learning system platform, or you can watch my YouTube channel in Ratsky YouTube channel. Again, my name is Mr. Rinaldo B. Malimban, your MAPEH teacher. Thank you and goodbye.